Back in 1966, my great-grandmother and great-grandfather built their family home. Within that time, an endless amount of memories have been made. And for me, when growing up, I'd spent a lot of time in this home. Specifically, the room I had the most memories in would be the basement living room. This room is where I spent every family gathering. This room is where I used to play video games against my uncles. This room is where I'd watch football with my grandfather. And this room is truly where I grew up. But in December 2017, my great-grandfather passed away. Since my great-grandmother had passed away when I was in kindergarten, this meant that the home had to be passed on. That's when my family and I decided to move in and make it our own. I took on the responsibility of designing this room because I knew I'd soon be leaving for college, and my aunt had just had a baby. So, even though I'm around less, I really wanted to play a part in my new baby cousin being able to grow up with memories in that very same room. I wanted to remodel this room to be a more modern movie room, and I needed to do this right, so that's when I began researching interior design. According to Dr. Bertrabet Gulwaldi, a professor at the University of Northern Iowa, interior design plans, both 2- and 3-dimensional, should acknowledge the principles of interior design and the theories of human behavior. Through this, I learned that in order for my design to be effective, I must not only consider the design factors, but also the functionality. Since this is to be made into an actual room, a designer must consider whether or not the design is functional and livable for the desired aesthetic and activities in real life. In turn, that's when I began looking into how others chose to complete their design process. According to the article, 4 Phases of Interior Design by Harrington College of Design, the 4 steps to a proper room makeover are: Step 1. Designing. Step 2. Remodeling. Step 3. Renovating. And Step 4, decorating. And with this process in mind, I began my first ever interior designing experience. Alright, so in order to do this properly, I decided to first measure the dimensions of the room, and then, taking those dimensions, I made a 2D model. Within this model, all objects are within accurate dimensions of real-life objects, and I placed them in the room where I thought that they would look best. It took a lot of small adjustments, but by the end, the official 2-dimensional model looks like this. Taking this model as a reference, my dad and I then began to remodel the room. We put up drywall, lighting fixtures, and a drop ceiling. Next, I hopped back onto my model, and this time I made it 3-dimensional. Within, I was able to get an idea on how I wanted to renovate the room, including what carpet and wall colors that I liked. I thoroughly enjoyed this feature as I was able to get a really good idea as to what colors I liked before I had to actually go and buy them in the stores. And finally, once I had these renovations planned out, my mom and I began renovating the actual room. On the red wall, we even decided to add some small gray streaks to break it up and add some texture. Also, mirroring the carpet shade that I had picked in my final 3D design, we chose to add this carpet to the room. Finally, once all of that was complete, I started to plan my decorating, the last step of this process. I went on to my 3-dimensional model once again. Here, I placed in some furniture, objects, decor items, and anything else that I believe would be both aesthetic and functional. In real life thus far, the only thing I have in terms of decoration up in the actual room currently is the television, and also I chose to take the time to paint a large-scale acrylic painting that I am going to be hanging up in the place of this, which is seen in the 3D model. And after much hand cramping and exhaustion, here you can see the completed painting and decor piece. And finally, here is the final product of the renovated room.